The Jacksonville Jaguars received great news courtesy of the Buffalo Bills. Welcome into Jags Now, presented by Chat Sports. I am your host, Cullen Brown, and yes, you heard that correctly. The same team that knocked the Jacksonville Jaguars out of the postseason a couple of weeks ago actually gave the Jaguars some great news. We're going to be talking about it on today's show. But before we get into it, guys, just want to make sure to remind you guys to hit that subscribe button for the latest Jags news and rumors. As you can see, I'm still not in studio at this current point. We still are dealing with ice and all that here in Texas. So hopefully we'll be back in studio here shortly. But in the meantime, I'm going to bring you guys coverage on the latest Jags news and rumors, even from my house. So make sure you guys subscribe and follow for the latest Jags news and rumors. But without any further ado, let's get into the news. The Buffalo Bills have officially promoted, per Ian Rapoport, their own offensive coordinator, Joe Brady, to be their next head coach for the 2026 NFL season. Joe Brady, listen, has been an offensive coordinator, part of those LSU great teams. Obviously, he's been an offensive coordinator for Buffalo for some time now under Josh Allen. Buffalo then promotes Brady to be the Bills' next head coach. And how does this tie into the Jaguars? Well, Grant Udinski, the offensive coordinator, who recently pulled his name out of the Cleveland Browns open head coach position, opening kind of interview process, he was sitting there and saying, all right, listen, I'm going to, interview at Buffalo, but if I don't, I'm going to return to Jacksonville. Well, based on all reports, and again, things, I guess, technically could change if another offensive coordinator position were to open up, but I'm operating under the fact, and per all the Jaguars reporters that I keep following closely, Grant Udinski will be returning to the Jaguars staff for the 2026 NFL season, which going into this kind of coaching cycle and throughout this entire process, I felt like we've talked about, Udinski potentially leaving. It was looking like he was going to be Cleveland's next head coach, or at least him or Nate Scheelhaus, which, they're obviously still interviewing, to potentially see who their next head coach is going to be. Udinski pulls himself out of that interview process, and it's, all right, you're going to interview with the Bills. Now he returns to Jacksonville for a 2026 campaign that, if you're Liam Cohen, you've got to be fired up. Grant Udinski played a major role in the preparation and just kind of handling the little details when it comes to being an offensive coordinator for this team this past season. And it was a big reason why Trevor Lawrence had the season that he had. Nearly 61% completion percentage, nearly over 4,000 passing yards, 29 touchdowns to 12 interceptions, also added over 350 yards on the ground with 9 rushing touchdowns. That's 38 combined touchdowns for Trevor Lawrence, and it was a big reason why T-Law was an MVP finalist, and it was because of Grant Udinski. And I think that Liam Cohen is really trying to shape this staff into potentially a star-studded staff for the 2026 NFL season. And, going into this kind of coaching cycle, you would think, and we'll touch on Anthony Campanelli here in just a moment, but you were sitting there wondering, okay, the Jags had a really great season, obviously 13 wins. We've talked about all the accomplishments that the Jaguars have had this past year, and it just seemed like the way the direction, the way reports were coming out on both Jaguars coordinators, but especially Udinski, that the Jaguars were not going to have those guys and their coaching staff for 2026. Well, now all signs, and again, I'm not making any declarations here because things can change, but at least where we're sitting right now, Grant Udinski will return to Jacksonville for this upcoming season, and Jaguars fans should absolutely be hyped for this reason. And I listen, Grant is clearly won over a lot of people, not just in Jaguar circles, but across NFL circles. And for him specifically, I hope that, wherever kind of path he chooses eventually in his NFL career, he has all the success in the world. But for this Jaguars team to get him coming back, it's the first time in Trevor Lawrence's coaching career that, all coaches will carry over from the offense in terms of like both offensive coordinator and head coach from one season to the other, Now he gets that with Liam Cohen and Grant Udinski, who Trevor Lawrence spoke very highly of. And I'm very happy for this Jags team, and I'm happy for Jags fans because, they finally get a taste of a really good season. And I think this is sustainable success. under head coach Liam Cohen with Trevor Lawrence, this offense that they're building. And, the receiving core, I think it's got some really nice pieces. I like the Jacoby Myers addition. Parker Washington really came on that last month of the year. You still got Brian Thomas Jr., who, yes, he had a down year as compared to his rookie year, but I think, with another offseason of training, maybe kind of reaffirming, like, hey, listen, you're that guy. I think he's going to be better than what he was last season. Burton Strange, obviously, had a really good year for Jacksonville. Expect him to be a potential extension candidate for the Jaguars and James Gladstone. And then you get your left tackle of the future in Cole Van Lanen, who was a superstar for you along the offensive line this past season. Travis Etienne, we'll see what they do at the running back position if they bring him back, but you still got Bashal Tootin, LeQuint Allen. This offense has a bright future. And then now you combine the fact that you're going to have Liam Cohen back. Liam Cohen plus Grant Udinski. I think the sky's the limit for this Jaguars offense heading into 2026. And listen, it's great news if you're a Jags fan. It's phenomenal news. I think Grant Udinski is going to be a future head coach in the NFL at some point one day. But for now, he's sticking around in Jacksonville. He is, sticking in as the offensive coordinator. And if you're fired up that Grant Udinski is returning to Jacksonville for this upcoming season, give me a Duval down in the comments section. Matter of fact, Duval. Drop one of those down in the comments section below. All right, so getting into now Anthony Campanelli, because obviously Udinski news is big, and that's important that he's returning. All signs are pointing up in terms of the offense. Campanelli at this current point is one of 3 reported finalists for the Arizona Cardinals position, along with Rams offense coordinator Matt LaFleur and former Falcons head coach Raheem Morris as finalists. And I think that's going to be the one final hurdle that Jaguars fans are going to have to sit there and say, okay, where are we going with this in terms of, potentially getting both coordinators back? I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but this could really turn into one of two ways. Either, the coordinator that a lot of Jags fans, if you would have asked them, all right, which coordinator do you think they're going to lose this upcoming offseason? I think a lot of people would have said Udinski, myself included. And for Campanelli now to be in this kind of stage with the Arizona Cardinals, obviously interviewed also with the Baltimore Ravens, which they went a different direction with Jesse Minter, also interviewed with the Miami Dolphins. They went Jeff Hafley. So I think for Campanelli to be in this position, obviously he's earned it. He's a really big culture setter. Obviously was a big part of the Jaguars defense being as successful as it was. We've talked about their accomplishments as well this past season, but it would be huge. It would be huge. And I'm not trying to knock it on wood. Nothing's confirmed yet. I have no inside sourcing on this, but if they were to somehow bring both coordinators back, it would be absolutely phenomenal for Liam Cohen to really just kind of, again, set a more of a foundation on what he wants his Jaguars tenure to be, because like Udinski, I think Campanelli does have a chance to become a future head coach in this league. Clearly, the Arizona Cardinals think so. So I just kind of have to sit there and wonder, okay, will this be the opportunity? If not, obviously Campanelli will look to return to the Jaguars in 2026. But Mike LaFleur, for the Rams, they're offensive minded. Do they potentially go that direction and pair him maybe with a young quarterback or at least a veteran for 1 year, like a Marcus Mariota, sign him for 1 year, and then they draft a quarterback in 2027 if you're Arizona? Do you go with Raheem Morris, who's obviously the more experienced in terms of being a head coach for the Cardinals? Do they go defensive again, or do they take the young upstart, the young phenom, defensive mind, Anthony Campanelli? We'll have to just wait and see. Again, we'll provide you the latest when it comes to the Jacksonville Jaguars news and rumors right here on the channel, so make sure you guys hit that subscribe button for the latest. And guys, great news overall, because again, we'll see what happens with Anthony Campanelli, but the fact that Grant Udinski is returning to this coaching staff for 2026, it's a great day. It's a great day to be a Jags fan and look to continue to build his relationship, obviously, with Trevor Lawrence, with Liam Cohen, this offense. I cannot wait to see what the Jaguars look like this upcoming season. If you guys made it to the end of the video, you guys are real ones, and I appreciate every single one of you. And if you could, make sure, considering hitting a like button on today's video if you enjoyed today's coverage. You stayed all the way to the end. I did something right. We're doing something right here on the channel. So hit that like button, subscribe. And as always, Jags fans, Duval! We'll see you next time.